Pastor David Douglas, and this is Signs of the Time. Thank you so much for being with us today. We're going to go ahead and get started. Turn in your Bibles to the book of Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. And in just a few minutes here, I'm going to be reading verses 1 and 2. I just wanted you to go ahead and be prepared. We are going to be coming from the book of Ezekiel today and also the book of Revelation a little bit later. Today, the subject is about the two battles of Gog and Magog. You know, there is some confusion, not a lot, but there is some confusion about, that there's just one battle of Gog and Magog. Some may say even the battle of Gog of Magog. It's just the way that they're placed, in the Bible, and some sees this in the book of Ezekiel, and then some sees it over there in the book of Revelation, and they think that it's just one battle. But it's actually two battles. One of these battles of Gog and Magog takes place sometime right before the tribulation, and the other at the end of the 1,000-year reign of Christ. I will explain this as I go. Let's look at the first battle of Gog and Magog in Ezekiel chapter 38, verses 1 and 2. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. I heard somebody say the other day that they just really didn't want to preach or teach, about end times, about prophecy, because, so much confusion that is out there. And I mean, there's a lot of confusion. It's just sometimes, the way an individual sees something and maybe they don't quite understand it. And there's been many a time that I've actually had to back up and look at something and then come back to a pulpit or even to you here on this YouTube channel, Signs of the Time, and say that I was wrong. There's nothing, bad about, saying, that you were wrong. That just shows, that you're a human being. But here in the book of Ezekiel, Gog, and I know this sounds so much, like God, but G-O-G, you may hear me say, this a lot while that I'm teaching this message today. But Gog, G-O-G, here is, the Bible said, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. One translation has it like this: Gog of the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh. Immediately, some have said that Rosh is Russia. But this is a wrong translation. I don't know how many Bible translations that has it like that, but I believe it's a wrong translation. The word chief here means Rosh in Hebrew, or otherwise the Rosh means first or chief, like Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, the first day of the New Year. So chief here means Rosh. Rosh means chief, not Russia. And Gog is a chief prince. Just like Michael the archangel was called one of the chief princes in Daniel 10 and 13. This would place Gog as an angel, but as one of the fallen angels, one of the dragon's angels, that John wrote about in Revelation chapter 12, I believe it was, when Satan, that dragon, drew a third part of the stars. He deceived a third part of the angels in his rebellion. But I believe that Gog here is an angel, is a spirit being, one of the fallen angels. He is over the area of Meshech and Tubal. Meshech here again is not Moscow. And Tubal is not another name for a city in Russia. So let's kind of quit focusing on, that. It's not saying, and I'm not saying that Russia won't be involved in some way, but Russia's not going to be the leader. The leader of Russia is not going to be the leader of this northern invasion. And I know this messes up a lot of people's theology. But Gog here is the chief prince, just like Michael was. He is over Meshech, like I said, and Tubal, which is located in the area of modern-day Turkey. When you look at ancient map Bible atlases, it will put it right there in the nation of Turkey. In fact, as we read on in the text here, 5 of these ancient areas are in Turkey. And they are Magog, Meshech, Tubal, Gomer, and Togarmah. I've had and seen some, and even where they had taught it that Gomer was Germany. And I know Adolf Hitler did a lot of things against the Jewish people, but Gomer, Togarmah, Magog, Meshech, Tubal, all of these are in Turkey. And according to the New Moody Atlas of the Bible and the IVP Atlas of the Bible history, and the Holman Bible Atlas, and Zondervan's Atlas of the Bible, all show that the land of Magog is in Turkey, not Russia. This chief prince Gog does influence a leader. And I know it goes on over there and says that Gog is buried. And I know some will say, how do you bury a spirit? But Gog, this chief prince, this fallen angel, this spirit being, influences a leader, might as well even say possesses a leader, just like the Antichrist will be possessed by Satan himself, or that beast, that spirit from the bottomless pit called the beast. So, Gog here, this chief prince, will influence a leader who will head up this northern invasion into Israel. And this leader will come out of Turkey, or will be in Turkey at that time in the future. Even though Gog influences this leader, and he does, puts it in his heart, in his mind, these things, God even said this, that he was the one that will put a hook in the jaw of Gog, G-O-G, and his invading army, and bring them into the land of Israel. Persia, in the verses on down, Persia, which is Iran and Ethiopia / Sudan and Libya, will be a part of this invading army. When they come into the land of Israel, it will be a time when Israel will have been brought back by the sword, or otherwise recovering from war. This is going to be such a vast army, it will look like a storm and be like a cloud, Ezekiel said, that covers the land. There will be other countries even standing on the sidelines, so to speak, such as Sheba and Dedan, which is Saudi Arabia, and Tarshish, which will be Spain. A lot of Bible commentaries point towards Spain. I've seen some even point towards England, but mainly Spain, the Spain area. Then it says, and the young lions, which could be the United States, Canada, Australia, otherwise those who come out of England, whose national emblem and symbol is the lion. So these young lions could be like, they coming over here starting the colonies, and then I know they broke away, Canada and Australia, and there may even be some in Europe. And all these nations will be standing on the sidelines, so to speak, protesting this war. They're not going to be involved, but they're going to be protesting by saying this: art thou come to take a spoil, to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold? When you look at Israel and the land of Israel, it is a very prosperous country. And it seemed like, just sprung up out of nowhere, but God blesses his people. I mean, he does. You know, I like to say this sometimes, and I heard an old preacher say years ago, you could put a Gentile on one corner with about, a dozen pencils, and a Jew on the other corner, with just a few, two or three. And by the end of the week, the Jewish salesperson will have made more money than the Gentile. You know why? They are blessed people. I believe that. So, even though it does not seem like here that any nation is helping Israel during this battle, but God shows up and helps Israel on the battlefield. When Gog and this massive army comes against the land of Israel, God says, my fury came up in my face. There will be a great shaking when all this takes place and God's fury, rises up in him. There will be a great shaking in the land of Israel. And it will sound and even be the effects of a great earthquake. So that the Bible said the fish of the sea, the fowls of heaven, the beasts of the field, and creeping things on the earth, God said, shall shake at my presence. Mountains, he said, will crumble. The enemy will even turn against each other. Disease will be in the enemy's camp and cause death. This, I believe, is like the pestilence with blood. When you see blood, it means death. So disease will come into the enemy's camp and come upon them with death, disease. Flooding rain with great hailstones of fire and brimstone will fall from the sky, the Bible said. And 5/6 of this enemy invading army will die, and only 1/6 will be left. The enemy, God said, will fall on the mountains of Israel, and God will send fire on the land of Magog, which is modern-day Turkey. And the Bible said even Israel, after this war is over, this battle, whatever you want to call it, battle or war, Israel will burn the weapons for 7 years. That is why a lot of Bible teachers say that this battle takes place just before the tribulation period. You got 7 years about them burning weapons, and then the 7-year tribulation. Some will even say that the battle of Gog and Magog is the battle of Armageddon. I know that there are some, annotated or study Bibles, that have that in it. Many commentaries will have that in it. But not long from now, I want to do a study here on Signs of the Time about the differences in the battle of Gog and Magog and the battle of Armageddon. I believe that they are two different battles, and I want to bring out the differences sort of to kind of clear things up. Bible even said that they would bury the leader of this invading army in a valley. And even some of the this leader called Gog and some of the men, that have died, and it's going to be so much carnage throughout the land. And they're going to call this valley the Valley of Hamongog. Like I said, and the Bible even said it will take 7 months to bury the dead and cleanse the land. You said this sounds like nuclear. Sounds like God to me. One angel during the days of King Hezekiah came down after Hezekiah prayed a prayer in the temple. And before daybreak, one angel came down and killed 185,000 of the Syrian army. And their leader, Sennacherib, he took out and headed out of Dodge, so to speak, got to where he got as far as, I believe, close to Nineveh. I think it was the Assyrian capital, went into his temple. And I believe, if I remember the story right, his sons came in and killed him. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, you don't mess with God's people and get by with it. He said, touch not mine anointing and do my prophets no harm. It will take 7 months to bury the dead. There will be so much carnage, so much death, so many bodies. The fowls of the air and the beasts of the field will be called by God to clean up the carnage, to clean up the bodies. All this death. And when it is all said and done, God said, the house of Israel shall know that I am the Lord their God from that day forward. This is the first battle of Gog and Magog, which is to take place in the future. But there will be a second battle of Gog and Magog to take place. And this is after the battle of Armageddon will end and the end of the tribulation. All that will be in the past. Satan at that moment will be bound in the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. And during this time, Jesus will rule on earth in a period that we call the millennial reign of Christ. The Bible calls it the 1,000-year reign. And Revelation chapter 20, verses 7 and 8 says this, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them to battle, the number of whom the sands of the sea. You know, he goes out into the north, the south, the east, and the west, the four quarters of the earth. So this showed me even right there that this is a different battle. And the number of them are like the sands of the sea. You know, it is amazing to me to see this. And it is. After Jesus had ruled and reigned on this earth for 1,000 years. I mean, I can't really say in the flesh, but in his glorified body. He came down. He will manifest himself. He will sit in the millennial temple of God as king over all the earth. People will make pilgrimages and come and bow before the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Jesus will have been here. The world will have been seeing the Son of the living God and living in a time of peace. People will die at a very old age. I mean, lions will eat straw, you know, like an ox. I mean, they will become vegetarians almost overnight. Now, that millennial reign, I mean, it's going to be something else. Peace, no war, nothing like that, no evil taking place. But at the end of a 1,000-year reign, Satan will be loosed from his prison. And Satan turns around and deceives the nations of the world after that they had been in the presence of Jesus for 1,000 years. This shows me that the heart of man is evil. And that's just how powerful, you might as well say, Satan is when it comes down to deception. And Jesus said, I mean, in the first sign of his coming, the events that will take place right before the rapture and the second coming of the Lord, he said, take heed that no man deceive you. All this sin, all this transgression that is in the world today, all the evil, all the wicked, it all started in the Garden of Eden during a time of deception. Satan deceived Eve to take of that forbidden fruit. Then she gave it to her husband that was with her, and from that day forth, death came upon the whole human race, and sin began to run rampant through this world. This shows me also that Gog, G-O-G, is a fallen spirit. It is a principality over Turkey, over these areas of Meshach and Tubal, the land of Magog. The spirit is over that, because no man, if the first battle in Gog and Magog took place at the beginning of the tribulation, and at the end Jesus reigned for 1,000 years, this Gog cannot be a man, but yet Gog influenced a man, because no man can live to be 1,000 years old. It will be 1,000 years between the two battles of Gog and Magog. This vast army here in Revelation 20 that John is seeing It is a vast army that will surround Jerusalem, surround God's people. This will be a place at this time that Jesus' throne will be in Jerusalem, when this invading army that comes from the four quarters of the earth, this vast army numbered like the sands of the sea, all of a sudden, fire will come down from heaven, from God, out of heaven, and devour them. Again, God, who is mighty in battle, will show up again and defeat the enemy called Gog and Magog. And immediately the devil that deceived the nations of the world will be cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet will be. They shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. So there will be two battles of Gog and Magog. One right before the tribulation period, right there close to it. That even could kick off the peace treaty. Then they'll burn the weapons for 7 years. Then the second battle will be at the end of the 1,000-year reign, when Satan is loosed out of his prison. He goes into the four quarters of the earth and deceives the nations. Bring them into the land of Israel. The fire of God will fall out of heaven and devour them. So, there's not one battle of Gog and Magog. There's two battles. So, stay with me. Please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And I need to stress this. Click that notification bell, because it's not going to be long. And I'll say this, the Lord willing, I'm going to put a message on here even to show the differences between the battle of Gog and Magog and the battle of Armageddon. They're not one and the same. I believe that they are two different battles. So please click that subscribe button. People have been even letting me know where they've been listening from lately. I hadn't looked at it today, but I know not too long back, I looked when I'd ask, make a comment, let me know where you're listening from. I had one to tell me that they were listening from South Africa. Thank you, South Africa. And this individual that tuned in as far as to the signs of the time. And then one told me that they were listening from St. Joseph, Missouri. We have had others in the past, Pearland, Texas, upstate New York, Ontario, Toronto, Canada, out in Arizona, a lot there in Texas, even here in my home state of Georgia, Florida. So, thank you so much. And like I said, don't forget to give us that thumbs up, click that notification bell, and share this video on whatever social media platform that you have. And remember always, remember what Jesus said, when you see these things come to pass. And they are happening every day. The Bible is being fulfilled right before our eyes. Jesus said, then look up, lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. God bless you. I love you in Jesus' name. Amen.